What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Oak Tree Football channel. And in today's video, I'm going to give my thoughts on the Eagles barely losing to the Baltimore Ravens in Philadelphia earlier today as I am recording this. So the Philadelphia Eagles haven't been great this season. They came into the game 1-3-1, and early it did not look good. They really were not playing great. Score was 17-0 at halftime. But then they started to turn things around. They got a touchdown, missed the two-point conversion. But the Ravens scored again, so it was 24-16. Eagles came all the way back, so it was 30-22. The Eagles were able to get a touchdown to make it 30-28, but they did not get the two-point conversion, of course. And that lost them the game with just under 2 minutes left. They were so close, and I'm happy that the Eagles were able to make it close because you could argue, especially in the second half, this was the Eagles' best game of the season. Not in the first half. They were not great, but in the second half they played really, really well. And I'm happy that they played well in the second half, but I'm so sad that they came up so short in the end. But they definitely look good. In this video, I'm going to go through some pros and cons and some things that I think were okay from this game. I definitely think there were a lot of good things today, which I'm very, very happy about because there haven't been as many, positives for the Eagles this season. But I think there were some today, and the first one of those is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz had his best game of the season so far, without a doubt. 213 pass yards and 2 passing touchdowns, 49 rush yards, and 1 rush touchdown, which would have tied the game if they had gotten the two-point conversion. Definitely, Wentz played his best game of the season, no doubt about it. He was very, very good. Didn't throw an interception. He did fumble once earlier in the game, but still, he looked a lot better. And with almost no help around him, especially later in the game, the fact that he was able to help the Eagles get back in the game was great. He had some very good runs. He had some very good throws. He just looked so much better than he has this season. And I'm a big believer in Carson Wentz. But I just was not a big fan of the way he was playing at points this season. And early in the game, really didn't look great, but he played so well in the second half and was really able to make it a close game again and just barely lose the game. I hope he can continue to do this because he really was not. He has not been very good this season. And I think he was okay in the 49ers game, and I think he was okay at times in the Steelers game. But he's thrown so many interceptions. But it was just a very good game from him today, in my opinion. And like I said, I really hope he can keep that up. Next up, I have Miles Sanders. Now, Miles Sanders did leave the game due to an injury. But before that, he had 118 rush yards. Of course, he had a 75-yard run before he fumbled the ball, which was recovered by J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who scored a touchdown. But very good game by Miles Sanders. I've talked about it before, but I think Miles Sanders has been probably the best offensive player on the Eagles this season because really not many players have been very good. Not good that he went off the field with an injury. I think it's possible he does return next week. I sure hope so because he has been very, very good this season, in my opinion. I think he's a very good running back, and I definitely want him on the team next week. But he has had another good game, and I'm very happy with that. He continues to put up big numbers every week. He had another big run. He had a 74-yard touchdown run last week. He had a 75-yard run this week before he fumbled. Which was recovered for a touchdown, like I already mentioned. Definitely a good game for Miles Sanders, and he's probably been the most consistent player, at least on offense for the Eagles this season. I've talked about him being the best, and I think he's been the most consistent as well. He's had a very good season so far, in my opinion. Next up, I have Travis Fulgum. I've talked about Travis Fulgum the last 2 games. He made his third game. He played in his third game for the Eagles today, and once again, he just played on an extremely high level. He has also been a fantastic player this season. I mean, first game he had 43 yards on 2 receptions and a touchdown. Second game he had over 100 yards and a touchdown. This game he had 75 yards and a touchdown. Just continues to play on a high level, to be honest, and that's very good because with the way that everyone gets injured at wide receiver, the Eagles' top 3 starters at wide receiver are all injured right now. And then Greg Ward, I would consider him the number 4 string. And then Arcega-Whiteside hasn't been great this season. John Hightower hasn't been fantastic this season, but Travis Fulgum has really just played on a high level. Right now, he's probably the best receiver that's healthy on this team. Maybe Greg Ward is better, but Travis Fulgum has just been so good, and I don't understand why he was on the practice squad before this. He's playing on an extremely high level, and it really came out of nowhere. But I'm very excited to see this guy play, continue to play great, and he really hasn't shown any signs of him slowing down because he's just been so good. Another great performance by Fulgum. And then the final pro is a defensive player. It's going to be Brandon Graham. Graham had a very good game, 6 tackles and 2 sacks. Definitely the defensive player of the game today, in my opinion. It was a solid performance. I mean, Brandon Graham is one of the better players on that I would consider a pretty strong defensive line. And he probably had his best game of the season so far today. He hasn't been great this season. He hasn't been bad, but it's not like he's been fantastic this season. But this was definitely a very, very good game for him. Definitely one of the better players for the Eagles, and maybe one of the better players in the whole game overall. 2 sacks, 6 tackles, very good performance by him. Moving on to some things that I think were okay, and first of all, I have John Hightower now. John Hightower early was not great. I mean, he had a big drop, which potentially could have been a touchdown. And then he did make a big grab later in the game, a 50-yard reception. I'm happy that he's not in the cons because I really, really like John Hightower. I think he can definitely play on a very high level, but he really has not shown that this season. But I think he played a solid game today. Like I mentioned, he did have that drop, but he did have a 50-yard reception. Not really anything else, but I hope he can play better because I really, really like him. But he needs to play better if he wants to keep a job on this team because as receivers start to get healthy again, he's going to move down the depth chart with players like Travis Fulgum stepping up and some other guys, having solid games. If he doesn't improve quickly, then he's going to continue sliding down the depth chart, and potentially in a few years he won't be on this team anymore, which is a shame because I like him, but it is early, and it's kind of tough to say that at this point, but I hope he can turn it around. Next up, I have Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz has not been good this season, and I really like Zach Ertz, obviously, but he has not been good this season, but he was a lot better this game. I believe he had, I don't remember how many receptions he had, but he had 33 receiving yards. He made a few big catches for first downs and stuff like that. It wasn't an incredible performance by him by any means, but it definitely was better. However, he did come off the field injured, which was not great, obviously. I was not very excited with that, and I don't really think anyone would be excited with an injury. But I hope he can come back soon and continue playing on a good level. There have been some rumors of him being traded away this season. I hope that's not the case. I think he's good enough to stay on the team. He is obviously good enough, but the trades would be kind of just to get more, draft stock or something because he hasn't been great this season. But that was a good game from him. Next up, I have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Keep this one quick. Arcega-Whiteside only really made 2 big plays today, and he has not been good since he was drafted, but he did get the touchdown. It wasn't really a deserved touchdown. He really didn't do much except pick up the ball in the end zone. But he did catch the pass on the 2-point conversion to bring the Eagles into a 1-score game. So I don't think it was a bad performance by him. It definitely wasn't very good, though, which is why I haven't been okay. And then the final okay is Malik Jackson. Jackson had a sack and a few tackles today. Definitely one of his better performances on the season. I think he brought some good pressure on Lamar Jackson, gave him a tough time. And I think he was good enough to get on the okays. And then finally the cons, the bad things from today. First of all, the offensive line, they allowed 6 sacks, 3 of them to Calais Campbell. The offensive line hasn't been great this season. I mean, started off terrible against the Washington football team. They had a very good game against the Rams, didn't concede a single sack. And then against the Bengals, they conceded 3. Against the 49ers, I believe they conceded 3. And I'm not sure how many they conceded last week against the Steelers. But this week, probably their second worst showing of the season. The only worst was week 1 against the football team. But to be fair, there's only 1 starter left on this offensive line. The rest are third strings. These guys were not expecting to start today or to play today in some cases because of so many injuries. But He needs to get better, to be honest. The offensive line just has not been good. Next up is injuries. I talked about it a little earlier, but there are so many injuries today. Just to add to all the injuries that the Eagles have already had, Miles Sanders left the game, Zach Ertz left the game, multiple offensive linemen left the game, and multiple defensive players left the game as well, including Kayvon Wallace and Jalen Mills. Oh, why do the Eagles get so many injuries? Right now, the Eagles, they came into the season with obviously 11 starters on offense. Only 2 of those starters are healthy right now. Carson Wentz is healthy, but Miles Sanders had an injury. Deshaun Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, both have had injuries this season. Zach Ertz got injured. On the offensive line, Jason Kelce is the only one healthy. Jason Kelce and Carson Wentz are the only 2 healthy starters left. So the fact that the Eagles were able to make this close game very much impressed me. I hope these players can start coming back because the Eagles have just been so beat up. And they get beat up every year, but this year especially, it just hasn't been good. Next up, I have drops. There are a few drops today. Miles Sanders made a big drop that could have been a touchdown. John Hightower made a drop, like I mentioned earlier, which potentially could have been a touchdown. So just got to clean up on the drops a bit. I think that can happen. Miles Sanders maybe has a bit of an excuse because he is a running back, still should have caught it. But John Hightower is a receiver. He should be catching that pass. He's had a few drops this season, but I hope he can improve. And then the final thing is Jake Elliott. Missed a field goal that would have won the Eagles the game. If he had made that field goal and everything else went the same, which maybe it wouldn't have, but the Eagles would have won the game 31-30 because they lost by 2. If Elliott had made that kick, I believe it was from 51 yards, so not even too long for him. Obviously, 51-yard field goal isn't easy, but still, I think he could have made that. And he missed a 61-yarder, but he missed a 57-yarder last week as well. Just hasn't been great this season, which I'm not very excited about. But anyway, those are my pros, okays, and cons from today's Eagles game. I'm so happy they were able to make it close, but so sad that they lost at the end. But I think they played great. Good game to the Ravens. They played very well. Also, it wasn't the best game by the Ravens. There was some sloppiness there, but they played a good game. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like. And if you are new around here, feel free to subscribe for more NFL and college football content. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Go Eagles!